This is Osama bin Russell, but I think you already knew that. It seems like an insane amount of people, even those who've never had a sip of the Lando Norris monster, all seem to know this face and this name. I wanted to know how. I wanted to know what this poor man did to deserve that name and the very first time it was used. And after hours of race highlights, Reddit DMs, and paying for a podcast, I can now say that I have found it. It only makes sense to start with the man himself. Woody-looking, T-posing, McLaren-injecting George Russell. George is a very decent F1 driver. He got himself a seat at Williams in 2019, and even though that car was a major piece of feces, he actually became one of the most respected drivers on the grid. During his time at Williams, he outqualified his teammate 57 out of 59 times. His best placement was second, where the race got cancelled, but still a podium. He scored 16 out of Williams' 24 points, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but remember what I said about the feces before? Well, yeah, that was their car. Russell got called things like a major inspiration, a really good team player, and even Osama Bin, a future world champion. Last one by Toto Wolff. At this point, George was practically sniffing the Mercedes promotion, taking a swig of it for every day that went by. Destroy every teammate they pair you up with, replace Hamilton in Sakir and get a front row start, overtake Bottas and take the lead, Mercedes mess up your pit stop, and congrats, you're P9. All in all, no signs of terrorism quite yet, up until Imola 2021. On lap 32, he's trying to overtake Bottas for P9. The guy he's trying to replace, by the way, accidentally goes too wide onto the grass and slams into the side of him. And then, in true Russell fashion, instead of apologizing and being the bigger man like he physically taller is, he instead walks over to him and starts shouting about how his butt is not cute at all and how the Finnish language sounds like someone repeatedly kicking a wooden door. In the end, he did get the seat at Mercedes for 2022, but this has since become kind of his calling card. George Russell. The kind of guy to go for a gap that does not exist and blame it on the other person. To the point where my Swedish commentators sometimes say, there's not enough space for attempting the overtake there. But maybe a Russell attempt. Do you want to see another Russell attempt?
Done. He got so close to Max Verstappen. That is 5-second penalty, causing that.
Oh, well, you're live on Twitter.
Where's this contact? Russell with the right front.
Now, if you are a racing journalist who is not Swedish, you would call this a very aggressive form of racing. But if you are an avid viewer of Formula Dank or any other F1 meme page, you would call this terrorism. Diving down the inside towards a gap that does not exist is exactly the same as committing a terrorist attack. The actual event that gave him the name wasn't this one, or any of the ones in my fancy montage. It was actually the first corner of the 2022 US Grand Prix.
Verstappen's ahead of Carlos Sainz, and then there's a lock-up from behind George Russell. Lewis Hamilton goes around the outside, and Sainz is spun round and is tapped.
Sainz takes the racing line, George makes a Russell attempt on the inside and crashes into the side of him. That's where it all began. But even after something like this, someone still needs to give him the name, and it wasn't gonna be Martin Brundle. It wasn't even gonna be Carlos Sainz screaming it on the radio, and it wasn't gonna be the race either. Enter stage left, rocket-powered Mohawk.
You illiterate fuck. But then everything goes arse over twat. Unfortunately. And then at the next race get hamassed into the barriers. And then at the next race hamass themselves into the barriers.
RPM is a YouTuber known for screaming about F1. Not talking about F1, screaming about F1.
His girlfriend is fit as fuck.
He is generally one of the most controversial Formula 1 content creators out there, usually sitting in a bathtub or a car, expressing how much he hates Lance Stroll. Usually is kind of a stretch, but you get what I mean. He jokes about almost anything. The Holocaust, 9/11, incest, just about anything HR would dissect you for. It would be so incredibly in character for him to come up with that name. In fact, if you would search up the origin of Osama Bin Russell, chances are you would find an article or a post saying, yeah, it was probably him. No idea where though, and I can't be bothered to find it. Enter stage left, me. Because I found it. I scraped everything he's made from start to him saying it for the first time. In doing that, I found that the nickname didn't start on his YouTube channel, but on his Patreon. That's where he has videos YouTube took down for any of these reasons, but also a podcast called The Nerve. And yes, this is the one I paid for. I really hope my $4 went to a good cause. During the very first episode of this podcast, he discusses the then recent US Grand Prix. While going over the topics, with only 2 minutes of podcasting under his belt, he says this.
The Red Bull fella, we'll talk about that. The US Grand Prix, oh yeah, Osama Bin Russell.
This was uploaded on the 4th of November 2022 and is the first documented time someone said or wrote Osama Bin Russell. But it's actually not the first time someone hinted towards it. During the time I did my very high quality research, I tried many different ways of finding the origin. One of them was searching for images and filtering by date. At this point, I was already pretty set on the fact that RPM was the one who made it. The entire internet seemed to agree, and no Reddit post, Spotify playlist, or photoshopped image ever mentioned the nickname before it. And then I found a post published on October 23rd, 2022. Predating RPM by almost 2 weeks. It was a meme where George Russell was on the FBI famous cases list for founding the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda. If you don't know who actually did that, the other Osama bin something. This isn't exactly mentioning the name, but it's very much hinting towards it. Maybe RPM was one of the people who saw that post and then knew just what to call his next victim. I reached out to the guy who made it and he said he mostly called him that after what he did at Imola 2021. But he also said that he doesn't think he was the one who invented the nickname. So, who was actually the first? Well, from what I found, RPM is still the first one to use the name, but the idea of George Russell being a terrorist was around before. But the name is only a third of the story. What about the image and the song as well that I haven't mentioned? You know, the one that goes, El Golu Golu So. The image comes from, well, he's still on stage, it's rocket-powered Mohawk, but on YouTube this time. On March 16th, 2023, he uploaded Aston Martin Enters the Chat, where this happens.
In front of the two Mercedes. Now wait a minute. Are we about to get a right piss up between Fernando Sigma-Alonso, Osama Bin Latte Boy?
Osama Bin Latte Boy is pretty damn close to dropping the name, but the image is there. It's actually the same image people use today as well. Just put it below any picture found on Google and slide the opacity back and forth. Specifically look at the chin that goes up in a kind of weird way and how it's exactly the same on any image you can find. The song is a much later installment to Osama Bin Russell. It's called El Jihad by El Alzar, and in this case, it is a lot harder to find the first time someone used it. It's probably just someone on social media who thought it would be funny, and then 5 people did the same, and then another 5 people for each of the previous of the 5, you get it. The thing you can do, however, is go to the song on YouTube, scroll all the way back in the comments, and then go forwards until you find the first sign of F1 life. And maybe not as many political takes. After doing that, the first comment I found was this one from the 3rd of September 2025. That doesn't mean the comment started the song, it just means that the song became well known in September this year-ish. Put them together and you have just about the most popular Formula 1 meme of the season. It is a bit edgy, because the nickname is based on one of the most evil people to walk the earth, and I'm not talking about George, but it's also very funny, just how many people have heard of this now, and how it started as a nickname on a podcast. And maybe the fact that it has spread so much out of F1 is a sign that we've already seen the peak of Osama Bin Russell. This is now a name featured in full-on articles. It is a registered nickname on F1 fandom and has now given every driver a terrorist alias of their own, which should tell you enough about which of the meme stages it's in. On top of that, he did not get a single penalty point in 2025. If anything, he was the one getting terrorized when Max was doing shit like this.
Oh, contact! Max Verstappen into the side of George Russell.
I do not know if that means the nickname is doomed or if it's more alive than ever. But no matter what happens next, we will always remember the name Osama Bin Russell.
Even through the darkest nights, just close your eyes, I'll be by your side. Tender kiss and then good night, dream of tomorrow.